So this is another axle. This thing was a 2-axle trailer. That's another axle. It's basically a couple of spindles welded to a pipe. And these are heavy duty spindles. You know what I think? I think these spindles are different than those spindles. See how big these are on the end? I'm going to give you something to look at for comparison. That's what this is. This thing's got 2 different types of spindles on it. So, this spindle is that big. That is, I guess that's 5/8 of an inch. This spindle is like a 1/2 inch. So whoever did this used 2 different spindles. Now these big spindles like this, I believe those are also a Ford lug pattern, but it's a big one, and I'm guessing this came off of a Ford truck, a big Ford truck, because these are such big bearings and such big bearings and axle parts. And somebody just welded that to a pipe. Now back in the old days, when I was young, we would take spindles off of various vehicles and weld them to pipe to make axles out of. You couldn't go to Home Depot and buy an axle because Home Depot didn't exist. And I'll give you a good example. I think it was a 54 Chevy. You could take the front spindles off of like that and make axles out of them. A lot of people, before they had these Mustang 2 independent front end conversions, I don't know if a lot of people did it, but I remember Hot Rod Magazine took a 54 Chevy front end with the coil springs and the A-frames. Took it out from under a 54 Chevy, cut it half in 2, took 4, 5, or 6 inches out of it, welded it back together and put it under a street rod, like a Model A or a 32 Ford or something like that, to get independent suspension on the front of one of them. When I first started racing, I couldn't afford a race car trailer, but I worked in a factory that had torn out all of the old water pipe. So I took a few sets of spindles out from under like a Volkswagen Golf or a Volkswagen Jetta, and I welded them to that water pipe, and I used the rest of that water pipe to weld me up a body. And then I took me an oil tank. Up in Maine, they have these big 275-gallon oil tanks, just about the size of that golf cart, only probably a little bigger. Well, I cut that thing apart, split it open, set it on fire to burn all the oil out of it, and then laid it down on that and welded it up and made a trailer. I've actually got a video on YouTube of me making a trailer that way. It wasn't the first one I had, but it was one I made later. And I hauled our race car to the track on that thing for quite a few years, and I was always in dread of the DOT pulling me over, because there's no way they'd have thrown me under the jail if they'd have caught me pulling that trailer with no brakes. It has a 4-axle trailer with Volkswagen axles under it, in a bed made out of a fuel tank. And that trailer probably still exists somewhere. I had another trailer I made the same way, but on it I used real trailer axles with electric. They had electric brakes, but I never hooked them up to make it. And I can't remember. I think the frame was made out of a trailer that I bought that somebody had that was about like this little trailer. It was a sturdy little body, but didn't have much for a bed. So anyway, that's some of the things that I've done.